What is the meaning of life? What happens when we die? Why won't the Kardashian thing go away?
You thought I was history, didn't you?
I am now! Yeah! Who is history's biggest presidential bad boy? Could be like an X-rated Harry Potter movie. You just insulted half of the country, my friend! You either join the discussion or you die.
I feel like we have to start the show over again.
Hey.
Man, they're excited.
It's very nice. It's very nice. What's that clapping there? Is that you clapping? That clapping you're doing? It's very passive-aggressive clapping. That.
Craig,
I don't see you. I can see you, and I see your naughty clapping.
they're clapping for me, not for you.
I never said they were clapping for me. I just asked them what kind of clapping it was. I didn't say who it was for. Who are you clapping for? Were you clapping for her? No.
So join or die.
Yes.
That is pretty imperative.
Well, it was, that is a...
Or declarative. I
cartoon,
meant...
Benjamin Franklin put in the Pennsylvania Gazette in 1754. It was the first symbol. It was a rallying cry, a kind of thing for the colonies to come together, to unite. And I got it tattooed on my arm when I became an American citizen. Yay, tattoos! That's right. And when we were putting the show together, it's a sexier title than Historical Discussions with Greg.
About moments in history.
Yeah, well, I mean, it kind of is, and I kind of like that because I wanted to do a show. I think history is like psychotherapy for the entire human race. You look at your past, where there are patterns or where you did naughty, bad things or things went wrong, and you try not to do them again. So it's collective psychotherapy, which I think is a kind of fertile place for discussion of a Socratic nature. Am I right, students?
Yes. And anyone who watched your show knows you're a trough of information.
Well,
No, you are. Like, you know a lot about a lot.
no, I don't know that that's entirely true. I think I'm good at bluffing, but what I'm not afraid to do is ask questions. So I'm not afraid to look stupid, which is good because I do it a lot. But I don't feel that this is not a show where I'll say, now, here's something I know, everybody, and listen to me. It's more about I bring people on who know what they're talking about and ask them questions about what we're talking about. So it's not an exercise in here's how much I know, because I don't really know that much. I have a working knowledge of a lot of things, but not an academic qualification in any of them.
Well, but, you know, I think all it takes is curiosity, right?
I think so. I think
the
that's
ability
that's
to ask
what
questions.
A curious mind and enough, balls to not worry about people saying, "Well, that's a stupid question."
Yeah.
Well, I know it's a stupid question, but how am I going to go know the answer until I know the answer? So I don't think there's such a thing as a stupid question, really.
When did you discover that you were a history buff?
I'm not a history buff, and I'm someone who's interested in the human race. I'm not. I don't think I am a history buff. There are areas of buff's a very interesting word. People don't do it for people don't say you're a buff for anything else, do they? There's always history buff, or maybe I'm just hearing that a lot right now.
You're probably hearing that a lot.
But it's kind of or in the buff. People say, "Are you in the buff?"
Are you?
I am in the buff.
Are you a history buff in the buff?
I do. What I like to do is get naked and think about the olden days. But actually, as you get older, that actually is how you spend a lot of your time. you get naked and go, oh, I remember when this meant something.
Oh.
But the idea of being, I don't think I am a history buff. I'm just interested in humans, good and bad. I find them entertaining and fascinating.
What has been, of the episodes that you filmed so far, what's been the most eye-opening fact for you?
I think the idea, the most contentious shows, the actual facts themselves, I don't think I could actually pull one out and say.
No, you don't need
But
to.
I think what was interesting is the most contentious show we did was the show Most Influential Rock Band.
What? That's the one?
People that's what I said. People went crazy. There was like fights in the audience and like, how dare you? And that's outrageous. And I mean, people went nuts. And what I noticed about a bunch of shows, particularly when we were talking about American history, that the resonant tone of any discussion about American history, particularly now, is the discussion of the very difficult problem of discussing slavery and how it affects America from its inception until right now, and how it is the cancer that infiltrates everything that we do because it is morally reprehensible and always has been. So the discussions got very difficult. They're lighthearted sometimes, but they also get difficult sometimes. And that I think is one of the reasons why I wanted to do the show, because in the environment of when I was doing late night, it's not always appropriate to get into a very specific discussion about a difficult subject.
Absolutely.
And then it's difficult to do that if you've got, the robot skeleton is there and the horse is running across there, and you're like, let's discuss slavery. All right, let's go. It doesn't allow you to improvise into different areas. And in musical terms, it'd be like if I was a guitar player and they said, well, you can only play the chord E, which is a great chord. The chord E is the chord, but it'd be nice to play an augmented F7 sometimes as well. And that's kind of what this show, I think, allows.
And what about when you guys deal with politics? How heated does it get?
Well,
present-day politics.
Well, present-day politics is not, it's unavoidable. We're in an election cycle, a particularly flamboyant and circus-like election cycle. So I think that affects, unlike every discussion I've had in the promotion of this show, has at some point, politics has come up, which I find, but politics is human interaction. It's how we run our affairs right now. So obviously, all political, there's nothing new in politics. It's how do humans manage their affairs. So everything we discuss has a topical spin on it because people use pop culture or contemporary references to frame whatever they're talking about.
How do you guys come up with your topics? I mean, I assume there's an endless supply given that history is so rich with
there's
characters.
A lot's been going on, let me tell you. But I think what it is I think that we chose a bunch of different topics, and some of them, I think the show is more successful, and we'll learn as we go along. I think we're still finding our way. But I think the show is more successful when it's very specific. For example, we did the most influential rock band, or greatest invention of the last 50 years. What we didn't, we also did a show which was history's biggest douchebag, which is, it sounds like it might be a good show, and the show's okay, but I really feel that that's too wide a category.
Yes.
If you're thinking about, there's a lot of douchebags, way more.
I mean, you got to narrow it down to like serial killer
and
douchebag.
What is a douchebag?
Genocidal douchebag.
Right, is it that guy that we eventually settled on for the purposes of that show? Who was the guy that hiked the price of the AIDS drug? Remember?
Oh, Shekli.
that guy. Well,
whatever, yeah.
Yeah, no, he's an enormous douchebag. Is he the worst douchebag in history?
No,
Well,
Pol
I
Pot is pretty much up there.
Well,
you know?
yeah, that's what I think, And then, Stalin's like, hey, what about me, girl?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's,
And Hitler's like, hello.
Yeah,
hello.
so we have to be more, I think as we go on, we have to be more specific about what we're discussing. But remember, the framework of this show has no academic value. It's not like we take 6 things and we whittle them down to 1 and say, okay, this was the biggest douchebag in history. But there's no academic value in that. That's not a real thing. The only reason we have the structure is to force a conversation into being. So in one regard, it means something. In another regard, it's really about who's on the show. That's what it is.
Well, I remember just personally when I read a biography of Marie Antoinette years and years and years ago, and I just became immersed in her story because so much that had been written about her was 1,000% inaccurate, and it just kept being repeated and repeated and repeated as fact.
Yeah.
From doing this show, what has been something that surprised you, that you were like, wow, I always believed that this to be the case, and it's not?
Well, I kind of, there's a bunch of them. The ones that kind of pop a little bit for me was, Columbus never being in on the American mainland. I was like, that's probably a bit problematic.
Yeah.
Also, there's there's a lot of, it's more about the moral framing of things that get quite contentious. I'll give you an example. We did a show of the greatest founding father. And so there was obviously, people were like, George Washington. You go, well, George Washington is the greatest founding. So you're saying the greatest founding father of the United States is a man who owned slaves. You say, but wait, that was different in those times. You go, well, John Adams didn't think it was different in those times. John Adams knew it was morally reprehensible to own slaves. He didn't own them, and he was very vocal. The British 50 years before knew it was morally reprehensible. So, it became more about, not so much about actual facts, but more about perceived, the way stories are perceived or the way they've been just glossed over, if you like.
Okay.
Get into the nitty-gritty of it.
That's so fascinating. I mean, I love that you put the show together because it really is, there's nothing like it on TV.
I don't think so, but it's smart people saying interesting stuff. That's unusual.
Who's your dream guest on the show?
I think there's a bunch of them. For me, personally, Stephen Fry, who's my old friend in Britain, I think would be a great guest on this show. He would outrage a lot of people. He's.
I follow him on Twitter. He's very.
Oh yeah, no, Stephen makes everybody mad. He's an atheist. He's gay and he's Jewish. He drives people crazy. It's fantastic. Yeah.
No, I love his Twitter feed. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, no.
Okay. Who else?
Anybody that has a mind. I mean, some people I do. I'd love to see Cornel West do the show because I'm fascinated. I'd like to see Desmond Tutu do it, but Desmond's in. I call him Desmond. I don't know. Des is in South Africa.
It's all right. I'll call him after the show. If you want.
The thing is, this show is kind of born from talking to Bishop Tutu on the late night show because I got the Peabody Award for the show I did with him about South Africa. Now, I think really I got the Peabody Award because I got Desmond Tutu to agree to be on my show. But I think that particular show that I did in late night fed the birth of this show. So it's really about, dream guests, people who are engaged and interested and not frightened of asking a question, or someone who's an immense world figure like Desmond Tutu. And
how much of a personal touch do you call guests yourself?
Yeah, I have done in the past. I will do that, but not like I won't call up a history expert at Princeton that I don't know, but I'll call up Jimmy Kimmel and go, Jimmy, you have to come and do this show, and he'll be like, all right. And so I'll do that.
And then you guys kind of hash out topics once you have your guests in place, or what's the process like?
Yeah, when you have the expert in place, we always in each particular show, each show has 3 guests. Usually the formula is roughly along the lines of someone from academia who's an expert in the subject that we're covering, a comedian, because comedians tend to be, and I say this without prejudice, but they tend to be very well read, and they tend to be whip smart. And so and all of them, no matter what style of comedian they are, they seem to have that. And then usually someone in the third seat, someone who's very well known, but someone who was a guest of mine on the late night show over the 10 years I did that, who I know can hang with smart people.
And is there a topic near and dear to your heart that you want to explore?
There's a great deal of them. There's a lot that's I'm an autodidact, so I have no specific area of expertise. So the idea of I'm fascinated by the ancient Egyptian burial rituals, but I'm also fascinated by the rise of aviation in the United States. So it's kind of is that a dog over there?
Yeah, I was like, what?
And dogs. I love dogs. Who doesn't love dogs? And grumpy cat.
I think you should do a show on Marie Antoinette, just a suggestion.
Yes, I think the French Revolution is fascinating.
Yeah.
Here's an interesting thing about the French Revolution. You know the Marquis de Sade? The Marquis de Sade is his reputation of being this, enormous pervert, which of course he was. But what he was doing when he, apparently now, I'm saying this, it might not be entirely true, but I think this is true. When he was, performing very profane acts in the church, what he was trying to establish or trying to demonstrate that he was not struck by a bolt of lightning. The idea being that God does not make kings. So God does not interfere in that way. And this is an Enlightenment idea. This is actually the birth of America happened.
Oh, that's actually very interesting. I didn't know that.
So what you're thinking about is that, and all French revolutionary literature was couched in pornography. And do you know why? Because that's what you read. That's what you click at. So if you want to spread dissent, you put it in pornography.
It's
so,
clickbait. It's
right,
the earliest
it's
version
exactly
of clickbait.
what it is. It's clickbait.
Craig Ferguson, I love you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So it's about humanizing the story, not making it dusty or dry by accident. These are human beings. They were, farty, smelly, jerk-offy, sticky, ugly human beings that were committing history. They're not just, sepia drawings in textbooks. They were living people that did stuff.
And I just read that they uncovered these letters that showed that both of her children were not fathered by the king, but fathered by I think he was Austrian.
Are we still on Marie Antoinette?
Yes!
Oh, okay. Then
We're still on that.
I don't know a great deal about Marie Antoinette.
Oh, I know. I could talk for an hour, but
Well,
I won't
think-
bore everyone.
Well, I think we'll do one. You come and do the show, the Marie Antoinette show, and we'll look at who was the most gorgeous figure of the French Revolution.
The sluttiest.
The sluttiest? Was she very slutty? Anyway, isn't that? Aren't we past that now? That seems.
Slut shaming?
Yeah.
You're right. You're right.
yeah, come on
Inappropriate.
now.
Inappropriate.
Yeah.
We won't go there.
I can't believe I'm the one that has the point.
I mean, inappropriate.
Yeah.
I sit back.
Yeah.
Are you going to do anything on the Supreme Court going forward?
Well, you mean what's currently happening in the
Well,
Supreme?
currently, and then taking it back to history.
Well, yes, I think there would be. I'm not sure I know about how the Supreme Court came into being. Do you?
No.
No, I think then we should.
fascinating.
Then
We
we
should
should.
know.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, that would be interesting. I'm fascinated by the process right now. I look forward to see that one unfold.
Oh, what happens in the next year? Yeah. That would be.
Yeah, it's
that'll
gonna be
that'll
lively.
I think if anything can overshadow this crazy election, it'll be the Supreme Court.
Well, it's interesting that what I find interesting about it is that the way dialogue is now is quite unusual in politics, in that if you disagree with someone's point of view, left or right, right now, you're unpatriotic. You want to destroy America. It's quite interesting. Like, if it's like, say, I don't agree with you. Oh, so you want to destroy America? No, I didn't say I wanted to destroy America. I just don't agree with you. I hope the idea of civilized debate is, I think, what the idea of America is, isn't it? It's about we talk it out democratically.
And you don't get thrown in jail for having dissenting opinions.
Well, that's the idea, isn't it?
The idea, yeah.
Yeah, or slut-shamed.
Oh, Craig, I will never live that down, will I?
Oh, you'll be fine.
How do you, when you film something, when things get particularly heated, how do you kind of taper it down?
I don't.
You
I
just
don't
let it
taper
go?
it down. No, it's not my job to taper it down. I don't worry about I'm interested in the. Also, the truth is, I'm 53 years old now. I don't care anymore. And so if people get into a fight about something, It's not like, will this, affect my ratings? I don't give a shit. It's fine.
Is it nice to be back on TV?
I never really stopped being on it. I've been doing other things. I've been doing a game show, which is a very different set of rules than doing this show. But I never really stopped. What I stopped doing is I stopped making it every day. Do you do this every day?
Yeah.
You'll lose your mind. How long have you been doing it?
5 months, 6 months?
Yeah. I do it for 10 years. It's funny. I was talking to Andy Cohen about it last night. And Stephen Colbert about it on Monday. It's a very odd world to be in. Can do a show like that every day. I don't envy anybody doing that.
Oh, I mean, I love it, but I can imagine when you have to produce,
You
have to
haven't
produce
been
an entire
beaten
show.
down by your own cynicism yet.
See, but it's awesome that you get to do what you love now.
Yeah.
Until you don't love it anymore.
Right. Well, yeah, I think so. Yeah. I mean, it's also. I think that to have discussions, that if my life is going to be talking on television, which I think it is, then I'd rather, pick the conversation. What we're going to talk about. The difference is, in late night television, you're a guest on my show, or what you have to do here is, like, you have to talk to me about my project. Now, I know that what you really want to talk about is Marie Antoinette. So why don't can you book a show and say, we're going to have Marie Antoinette week, and, AOL are going to be cool with that, and they're going to let you do it?
I mean, I think it would be an audience of one, which is me.
See, I don't care. I don't care if it's an audience of one. I get that anyway.
I still can't believe that the hottest debate on your show was the rock band.
Yeah, people
I still can't get past that.
People went crazy. They were very
So
upset.
what was the verdict?
Oh, well, I can't tell you that.
Oh, come on, spoiler alert.
Well, maybe it was the Beatles. I don't know.
See, I would have gone with Guns N' Roses.
Were you insane? Why would you go with the Guns N' Roses? The Guns N' Roses are a great band, but the most influential rock band? That doesn't make any sense
this
at
is
all.
why it gets...
Right, exactly. Because that's exactly what I felt about, because the Rolling Stones were in there. I was like, what are you talking about? The Rolling Stones aren't influential. The Rolling Stones were influenced. The only reason the Rolling Stones are famous is because they were white in the 1960s. That's why the Rolling Stones are famous. They're playing black music. That's what it is. They would tell you that. They don't influence the music. They are influenced by the music. So you have to look at the semantics of what you're actually talking
Oh,
about.
I guess that makes sense, yeah. I guess the Beatles, all right.
Yeah, I think the Beatles influenced a lot about it. What I was angry at is, in that particular episode is that Velvet Underground weren't included in the original 6. And I'm like, well, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
The most influential indie band I believe that ever was the Velvet Underground. And Brian Eno said about the Velvet Underground, they only sold 30,000 albums, but everybody who bought an album started a band. And,
Well, there you go. And now it's time for our audience portion.
Audience
Let's
portion,
ask
eh?
Mr. Craig Ferguson some thoughtful questions about Marie Antoinette only.
Only Marie Antoinette questions.
Well, I guess that counts me out. Now, hi, Craig. I was just wondering, you're so used to doing, late night live television. Are there any shows currently on the air, like Dancing with the Stars, Celebrity Apprentice, Amazing Race, anything that you might be interested in trying one day?
I don't even understand the question. No. But I want to disavow you of one thing. Late night shows are not live, except Andy does
pre-taped,
one
yeah.
on Bravo. But
Even his is sometimes taped.
Yeah,
so.
he tapes it sometimes, but most of the time they're taped. Yeah, they're taped, and that's what it is. This is live, though, I believe.
Yeah,
right?
this is totally live.
Like, so if I went crazy and started cussing,
I slut-shamed myself live.
well, don't
Yeah.
worry about it. It's fine. It's fine. If I had done it, it'd have been a problem.
Take our next question from an online viewer.
Sure.
So Hannah would like to know, since you used to be in a band, do you still play music in your free time?
Yes, all the time. I live inside a very kind of musical world. I play music all the time, in my headphones, obviously, and I have a drum kit and some guitars, and I play with them. Not enough that anybody wants to hear it, but I find it therapeutic. Hi.
Hi, thank you for coming. Are there any topics that you haven't covered on the show that you would really like to get more into it?
In the history?
Yeah.
Yes, thousands. There are, too many to mention, really. The scope and breadth of human history.
I mean, because that's the point of the show, right? Is that
We've
you never run out of material.
We've only made 22 episodes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's more to be done. Hello there.
Hi. Enough can't be said about how well the Late Late Show kind of dissected the talk show format and shone a light sometimes on how absurd it can be and exaggerated things like that.
Thank you.
But-
May I compliment you on your sweater as well, actually? It's very nice.
Thank you.
It's like seeing The Revenant for free.
Anyways, I feel like you've probably answered a couple thousand questions in the past 72 hours. So I'll give you this is either an easy question or a very difficult question. I'm not sure which. Who's your favorite Doctor and why? And it can't be Peter Capaldi.
Well, in terms of the Doctor in Doctor Who, of course, I have decided that I'm going to take the stance of not taking a favorite because they're all the same Doctor. Or do you not really watch the show? Just blew your mind, man! Thank you.
Hi, thanks for being here.
Hello, you're perky.
I get that a lot. Anywho, since you've done you've done some cartoon movies and voices, do you see yourself doing any voice characters coming up?
Yes, we're just starting. We're going to start right now working on How to Train Your Dragon 3, which I'm very pleased about.
So my son will be too.
Yeah, no, I love that movie. My youngest boy just watched the first one for the first time, and it's fantastic. I'm very proud of those films. I'm very happy to be part of it. I like doing animation. It's the only sort of legitimate area of acting where you can go to work and not be wearing any pants.
And we have a last question, please.
Hello.
Hi.
When you first started doing comedy at the beginning of your career, at what point did you realize, wow, people actually think I'm funny? I think I could actually make a living out of this?
In all honesty, I don't know if I have reached that point.
Maybe today?
Yeah, I don't know. I think that it's, if you talk to comedians, I think that I don't think that's quite how it works. It's more about, did I get away with it? Everything seems to be, will I be able to do it? With me, certainly, and with comedians that I know, I don't know that many, to be honest. We're kind of like cats. We don't really, we can be okay sometimes with each other, but too many in one room is bad. But I think that a level of insecurity remains all the time. Whenever a writer, for example, will say to me, this joke is gonna kill, it's gonna be awesome, I'll be like, well, you do it then, and we'll see, because I could never be that sure.
Well, thank you so much, Craig,
Thank
for
you.
a
That was
lovely
a nice
discussion,
time.
and thank you to our audience.